Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of the Daily Fix. I am your usual host and presenter, Advocate Tulo Hoyane. You know, there's a saying that says, oil and water don't mix. A saying that says the truth and lies will never see eye to eye. It is all coming up in the Pretoria High Court, and how explosive this has become. Absalom Zungu took the stand as the second defense witness this morning after the testimony of Moses had concluded. And what an explosive testimony he rendered. You'll recall that on the 19th of November 2019, Absalom Zungu is supposed to have deposed to an affidavit. This March Gininda testified before the Pretoria High Court. And in terms of that affidavit, Absalom Zungu was confirming that he had in fact told his younger son, Constable Zungu, about the involvement of accused number 1 and accused number 2 in the killing of Senzo MEYIWA. That came by way of an affidavit made under oath that was submitted by Prosecutor Baloyi together with Gininda. Now, this is all coming back to haunt them and exposes this trial as a sham. Let me go back a little bit. A few months back, Absalom Zungu, went viral all over South Africa after he denounced that affidavit. And I think he ended up opening a case at the Newcastle police station against Gininda. I don't know what the fate of that case is. But he went viral to denounce the so-called affidavit that he had made, that he had never made any affidavit at all to Gininda. Now, what happened this morning came, it was the chickens coming home to roost, because this was now Absalom Zungu under oath in a court of law, denouncing evidence, prosecution evidence, tendered by Baloyi and Gininda about that affidavit. He says all that he remembers was that at some stage, together with his son, Constable Zungu, they were with Gininda and Gininda was writing some things. And at some stage, he was required to sign something. And he refused, and that is very important. He refused to sign whatever it was that Gininda was writing on a piece of paper. How interesting. Interesting times indeed. This vindicates all that we have been saying about this trial. So he refused to sign whatever it was that Gininda was putting in front of him. Presumably, it is this affidavit that he signed. So when Advocate Nisi confronted him with the same affidavit, he denounced it in the strongest, language imaginable. That in fact he had never signed any such document. Now, leading up to that dubious document, which has been handed in before the Pretoria High Court as an exhibit, it would appear that there were several meetings between Absalom Zungu and his son. And his son was trying to, to get him to say something about the killers of Senzo MEYIWA. And his father kept on telling him, look, get away from Gininda. Get away from Gininda. Because his son was also saying he knows who the killers of Senzo MEYIWA are, and that he was in touch with Gininda and he was making frequent visits to Pretoria. And his father's advice to his son was, get away from Gininda. If there is anything you know about the killing of Senzo MEYIWA, reported at a police station. This is, the background leading up to this morning's explosive disclosures. So for once, the prosecution and the investigators in this matter, chief among them Gininda, who has styled himself the lead prosecutor, they have committed a crime of defeating the ends of justice here. This is a clear-cut case of defeating the ends of justice. Because let us look at it holistically in this manner. Gininda and Baloyi are here defeating the ends of justice because they are putting an affidavit before the court, allegedly made under oath, to the effect that it was made by one Absalom Zungu. The interesting thing is that they never called that Absalom Zungu. You see, Absalom Zungu, if he had actually made this affidavit, should have been called by the prosecution to come and vouch for this affidavit which is denouncing now. But because it was never Absalom Zungu's affidavit in the first place, they never called him until the prosecution closed its case. Now the defense has taken advantage of all this, and they are calling Absalom Zungu, and Absalom Zungu is rubbishing every word in that so-called affidavit that he made. So Baloyi and Gininda are defeating the ends of justice because that affidavit is intended to implicate accused number 1 and 2 in the killing of Senzo MEYIWA. Because it is in that affidavit, you recall, wherein Absalom Zungu says he overheard a conversation between accused 1 and 2 relating to the circumstances leading to the killing of Senzo MEYIWA. And this information, Absalom Zungu is then supposed to have relayed it to his son, Constable Zungu. That is the testimony of Constable Zungu in that court. Now here comes the source, the alleged source of that information that Zungu displayed before that court, coming to rubbish the very affidavit that was put before the Pretoria High Court, allegedly attested to by him or sworn to by him. If this is not cooking, if this is not, an endeavor on the part of Gininda and others, or like-minded people like him, to falsely implicate the accused in the commission of this crime. We have always suspected, because there are 2 dockets involved here. There's docket 375, which Gininda and Baloyi have simply just decided to ignore, which says there were no intruders into that house. Now there's this docket 636. Now under docket 636, we are seeing all these forgeries. But as the testimony of Absalom Zungu continues, I will keep you updated and look to further explosive disclosures by Absalom Zungu. But Baloyi and Gininda have been exposed for what they are: crooks and perhaps criminals. Having said that, let me thank you for watching this video. Let me thank you for all the likes and shares that I'm seeing. And have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you.